Welcome back to the Lou Perez podcast. My name is Lou Perez, and I'm happy to report that right now you can order my book. That's right, I wrote a book. It's called That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore, on the death and rebirth of comedy. Follow the link in the description or head over to Amazon and search for Lou Perez, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. If you want other options on how you can buy my book, please sign up for my newsletter at thelouperez.com. You could also join my community at thelouperez.locals.com. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you could leave a 5-star review, that would be amazing. Whether you're a long-time listener or a first-time, 5-star reviews are lovely. If you're looking for other ways you can support me, you can do so by supporting my sponsors. If you're into CBD products, please check out palomaverdecbd.com. Use promo code Lou to get 25% off purchases over $75. And if you like cold brew, check out Black Organic Cold Brew at www.blvckbrew.com and use promo code Lou for free shipping. All right, let's go.
Well, Lou, thanks for joining the show, and I like the fact that we're going to go back and forth and have a real conversation, and both of our audiences can share and get something out of it. But I want to start with something I noticed about you on Twitter, and I guess you follow me, I follow you, and you're always funny, and you're kind of gentle at times with your humor, I think, as opposed to some other folks. But I have to say, I think you're throwing a little more of the sharp-elbowed tweet out there now and then. Is that a fair take? And I was kind of curious why, because I tend to think of you as one of the more reasonable voices, and you still are, but I sense an edge to your commentary of late.
Yeah, I wonder what's happening to me. I'm kind of forced to ask myself that question. I don't know if perhaps the inspirations that are coming to me are have to do with a little bit more edgy or dangerous material, or maybe it's a product of kind of being cooped up in a very cold northeastern part of the country. But I think the one thing I would say is I at least I hope that anything that's coming out, if it whether it has edge or it's a little bit more playful, I hope it's at least a little original. I hope people are getting at least that from it. And who knows, maybe I'll be doing a little bit more upbeat, happier stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping current events plays into that. And your stuff is always funny and interesting and thought provoking. I don't know. I think maybe I'm too self-analytical because I sense it in myself sometimes too. And so I have to remind myself, hey, don't be a downer, don't be so hardcore, don't be so political, throw some fun stuff in there, and I'll just put a picture of my dog on Twitter and just kind of shake things up a bit.
Well, I think that says a lot about you and other people like that, where that rather than just allowing social media to be sort of the the unfiltered kind of garbage factory that it can be, you actually take a step back and say, hey, what is this saying about me, and do I like what it's saying about me?
Yeah.
And I think that's something. I think I look. I've been on probably Twitter for over a decade. I can't even believe that. There's going through all different stages of career development and all that. I haven't been doing a lot of sketch comedy videos, so there might be something to that. Where when I was producing a lot more sketch comedy, kind of my focus was on being able to write a 3 to 5 page script and to produce it and edit it and get it out there. Whereas maybe that took a little bit of the that essence away from Twitter.
Interesting. Actually, I reached out to some people on Twitter, I think last week, and said, hey, what are some fun accounts I can follow? Uplifting, inspirational, motivational. Just because I wanted to have more of that in my life and in my voice. And we're both entrepreneurs in ways. We're kind of creating our own business and blazing our own trails, for better and worse, at least in my situations. So I think you have to be extra careful of how you sound on social media.
Oh, sure. I mean, it could get people can catch the worst of you. I mean, the idea that you can kind of be summed up in one line and then that paints a picture for for a lot of people, especially like we've been following each other for a while, so you're able to see the different sides, at least of what I'm revealing on social media. Who was a really good uplifting follow, the lead actor in, what was that movie, Shazam, was it?
Was Zachary Levi?
Yeah, he was like I remember coming across his work, and he dealt with, I guess, haters in such a positive Zen-like manner, that there was it was nothing but enlightenment and kindness and wishing the best for the for the other person, even if the other person kind of came at him hard on Twitter. And what's funny, I haven't seen his stuff in a while, so maybe he was like, what, I gotta get away from this stuff.
He did a Seacrest out on us. I actually find that Pat Sajak can be very funny. Yeah, he's right of center, but he doesn't really get too heavy in the mix, but he's very self-deprecating and kind of taking his own community to task, and I find that very enjoyable. Yeah.
I mean, well, isn't it interesting that a lot of game show hosts seem to be, right of center or libertarian? I almost feel like they're almost like double winners. Like they sort of won the lottery in that they, are able to host a game show. And also they won the lottery by being born in a country where they can host a game show.
That's right. And also I think they meet such a wide swath of Americans. Maybe that has an influence on them, but it is interesting. A little bit like SNL alums seem to be drifting to the right of late once they leave that atmosphere, the ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I've been doing a lot, and I'm sure I'm boring people at this point, is talking about my book, Virtue Bomb. So I know you have a book that's on the way, not quite there yet, but coming soon. And I love the title, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. So give us a little bit of insight. I know you're sort of knee deep in there, but what can you tease about it?
Sure. So the quote, that joke isn't funny anymore, for all my Smiths fans out there, it comes from a track off of the Meat is Murder album. And it all started when I wrote an article that appeared in the Wall Street Journal at the end of 2020 titled How I Became a Far-Right Radical. And in the article, it was me pushing back against a academic paper that was about the supposed growth of right-wing echo chambers on YouTube. Very scary language. And in it, at the end of the paper, there was a list of all these different channels that they deemed far right. And wouldn't you know that my channel that I was working for at the time, We the Internet TV, was on that list. And a buddy of mine, Noam Dwarman, who's the owner of the Comedy Cellar, he shared it with me, and he said, you got to respond somehow, like do a video, write something. And I was like, whatever. But then the more that I thought about it, the angrier I got, because I was like, wait a minute, I had just lost my job, and we were, I was a couple of months into, being unemployed and wondering where my career was going to go. And then I just imagined, wait, if somebody came across, We the Internet TV and saw my mug, or they saw my resume and saw that I worked there, and they start associating me with like far right, like who wants to work with that guy?
Yeah.
I guess it's sort of similar, like, taking someone at their worst tweet, like we were talking about earlier. So Noam, thanks to him, he put me in touch with the Wall Street Journal. They ran the article, and then I got my book deal off of that.
Wow,
so,
nice.
Yes. So it's my first book, and I don't know if you had this experience where you start out thinking your book is going to be one thing, and then it just sort of takes on a life of its own. So in it, I've sort of been exploring or relearning why comedy is so important to me, mm-hmm. why I've devoted so much of my life to it. And so that's been a lot of what the book is about, where a lot of people see, sort of like the death of comedy, and, you can't make jokes anymore, and you can't say this, you can't say that. So I'm coming out and trying to change people's opinion on that and say, no, actually, this is the best time to be doing comedy. And
interesting.
If you stick with me for, however many thousands of words that I put down, I hope to entertain you and then also leave you hopeful for the future of the laugh industry.
You know what's interesting? We've seen a few pretty major players in pop culture pass recently, Bob Saget and Betty White. And what were they? They were comics. They were people who made us laugh over decades, and we had such a strong reaction to them when they died. Of course, Betty White was older, but we thought she'd live forever, and Bob Saget was only 65. But people who make us laugh consistently over the years and have a fairly positive outlook, and I can't remember what Bob Saget said that was mean-spirited. I mean, he could be dirty, but he wasn't like railing against people. And Betty White was just America's grandma. But it does mean something for people who are bringing joy into our lives, and that's what comedy is. So I think even on that level, it's worth exploring and worth defending.
Yeah, and for your listeners and my listeners as well, I would highly recommend you guys listen to Bob Saget's story about Norm Macdonald, or Bob Saget's response to the death of his best friend Norm Macdonald, who only passed away not too long before Bob Saget did, and the love that those two men had for each other, their friendship it was wonderful to listen to, and yeah, that there is something about someone who's able to make you laugh is. When you think about it, it's kind of rare. You think about how many people you pass on the street, or how many people, whose lives, you're in, or you come into contact with, and it's like, they're not funny, And then it's the people where, you can go to a party, you could be at a party for 4 hours, and the only thing you remember is that one guy or that one woman who made you laugh, and it could, laughter, I think, could kind of have a life of its own, and it's also, I think, a reminder too of life as well.
It's sad to me that the movie going experience is changing and the audiences have been dwindling, unless it's a superhero film. And even I think horror films have actually done fairly well during the pandemic. But I would think that there aren't many examples of it, but to me, the communal experience in a theater is great for, like a Black Widow or something with the razzmatazz. But horror, when you're all scared and gripping your armrests and kind of have a collective sense to what's going on. But also comedy. If you see a comedy in a big theater with a whole bunch of people and everyone's laughing, it's more fun. And to me, it's kind of sad that part of it has kind of been missing in recent years, because they just don't make that many comedies, and they certainly don't make that many good comedies. So it's, I think that's another money left on the table, because Hollywood could be bringing that to the attention and could be getting some more cash out of it, and yet they're kind of passing up on it.
Yeah, and I know you've written about this before, and I actually, when I read one of your articles about it, sort of like the death of the comedy feature film, I was like, oh no, me and my partner just wrote a comedy, and it's a feature. Oh no, I'm trying to remember the last comedy that I saw in the theater. I remember I saw Borat in the theater with two of my friends, and I laughed so hard. And then I think I saw Jackass 3D in the theater, and that was another one where I was like, just bold, just dying from laughter. But those, I think, just thinking about those two films, and probably the reason why they stand out is because they are these kind of big films, like something that you would want to see on the big screen. Where I think a lot of comedy, especially in the feature film department, has kind of gone the way of like, here's a sad story that was written by a comedian, and it's kind of like smaller. It's like mom's sick, or best friend is suicidal, and let's see what happens with this rather small story. Which I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some. Maybe we're just going to the way that some movies need to be experienced on a couch, as opposed to a movie theater. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. I mean, I think there are movies that just do work perfectly in a small venue, on a couch with your friends, with your wife, kind of snuggled up. That's what they're meant for. I mean, if you see them on this big screen, it doesn't hurt the experience, but there's an intimacy that goes into the theatrical model that is worth exploring. I think we kind of alluded to the fact that times are hard and there's pressure and people are fighting over COVID and everything. Does that sort of impact your comedy outlook? Do you try to maybe tell more uplifting jokes or jokes that kind of cut against the grain? Or as a comedian, how do you kind of process that reality?
Well, I think the times that I've been on stage, during the plague, it's I've been, like pointing out at how this should be normal, us all in this room, experiencing live comedy, but it's not normal. So behind everything, there is this, there is this sensation that what we're doing isn't normal anymore. And there's something perhaps a little bit more special to it. And I've noticed, doing live shows that the audiences are really hungry to be there and to, if they're willing to come out anyway.
Yeah.
They, some of them, I guess in some people's minds, they're risking it all, to come and see you perform. And that's a pretty cool thing.
I don't think you're going to see the hosts on The View coming to your next show, though. Just a heads up, they don't seem involved. They don't want to be there, mask or no mask or vaccine or anything. So just get ready for that. Yeah, I mean that's actually kind of life affirming. The fact that if the folks are willing to go out there, they are just ready to rock and ready to roll. And maybe they won't record you and tattle on you for telling the wrong joke. Maybe there's another benefit of that.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, talk a little bit about your peers. Do you congregate with fellow comedians? Do you find that there are sort of similar things on their minds, or does each comedian have a kind of a wildly different approach to the culture right now?
Well, let's see. So I'm married and I have 2 children. I have 2 under 2. So one of them is he's going to be 2 in 2 months, and the other one is about 3.5 months old. So my life is not going out. Okay. So all of my contact with my comedy peers, it's either, via like, text message or email. Mm-hmm. So we're sort of keeping each other in the loop by sending one another memes and that sort of thing. And so it's been a while since, man, I'm such a boring guy. It's like been a while since I've been out and, had beers or stayed late after a show and all of that.
Well, perfectly normal. The fact that you're not falling asleep mid-conversation is a good sign. With 2 youngins like that, the sleep thing is a significant issue. So I think you're just being boring is perfectly fine.
It's unreal. I also the cry, the scream of a newborn is something that I don't wish that upon anybody. I don't wish that upon my worst enemy, Christian.
What's funny, I almost got numb to it. I have 2 kids and they're older now, but I think when you're reacquainted with it, it becomes even more frightening because how did I live through that? Well, yeah, you just do. You just get used to it. You just kind of process and kind of muddle on, and then you think, well, how did I do it? Well, it becomes your normal. So that's the way it goes. Right.
Something I wanted to talk to you about, definitely when it comes to movies, what's your origin story? You're a superhero when it comes to film criticism. You bang out. I mean, you write so much. You put out so much material every day and every week. How did you start doing this stuff?
Well, Roger Ebert, a radioactive Roger Ebert, bit me when I was at a lab. And, I went to art school because I want to be an artist. I want to be a Marvel Comics artist forever. And then at some point I realized, oh my God, I'm really not good enough. This is not happening. And then I always loved movies. So I thought, let me try to write movie reviews. So I did for my college newspaper. And then when I graduated, I thought, I'd love to do this, but I don't know how you get there. So I just took jobs in journalism and then begged and pleaded my way onto the arts desk. And I did it in Pittsburgh briefly. And then when I moved to DC, I did it more so, got more aggressive, and actually landed a movie critic job. And then when I decided to leave DC for Denver, I thought, well, journalism is kind of collapsing. What do I do? So I kind of said, well, I'm right of center, and I don't see many right of center critics out there. So why don't I kind of lean into that, be myself, and speak to an audience that doesn't get a lot of attention? And that's kind of been it. So I've been kind of just bouncing around that way. And then, I've got a podcast, I've got a website, I do a lot of freelance work, and the book. So I just been kind of making it up as I go along and really studying hard listening to podcasts about business and marketing and trying to educate myself in areas which I had zero credentials, zero experience. That's not me. I'm not from an entrepreneurial family. So, and my wife, God bless her, kind of gritted her teeth while I was making very little money. And then now I'm doing okay. So, I'm still, it's the kind of career where you have to kind of constantly search out new information, network, push my name out there, push my brand out there. So it's interesting, but it is exhausting. And I don't go on vacations really. Even when I do, I'm still working. My wife makes fun of me for that. But I kind of work 7 days a week. And when my wife says, "Hey, I'm taking the kids out, it's hockey time or something," I'll say, "Okay, I'll just stay at home and work." So, but I love it. I genuinely love it. And I get excited by it all the time. And so that's kind of keeping me going right now.
Yeah, there's something to, and you brought up, being bitten by the Roger Ebert radioactive Roger Ebert, there's something where I still go back and reread old columns that Roger Ebert would write, old criticisms of movies, and there's something I think about a good critic, and critics get a bad rap. It's, the artists are always like, well, if you could do what I do, you'd be doing what I do. Mm-hmm. Mr. Roger Ebert, and you're writing the Valley of the Dolls or whatever that that schlock piece was. But I think the sign of a good critic is when you read their work and you find something more in the work that you both shared by going to see it. And So that's something I like. In addition to your work, I enjoy reading Kyle Smith as well from
he's great.
National Review, and I think and I think that it's important to have well written criticism. There's a level of trust there as well, where there are critics. I remember this one art critic in particular named Jed Pearl. I think he wrote, I don't know, it was like the New Republic, and he would it seemed like everything that he wrote was just him just destroying a museum, whatever exhibit they had on. So like anytime I wanted to read somebody catty, I'd go and read Jed Pearl. But I think it's important, I guess now where I am, to read critics who I know are coming in good faith and like come in wanting to enjoy the work, and and if they don't enjoy it, they're going to have reasons why that you can respect, and I think that's really important.
One weird thing about my career right now is I'm often critiquing my fellow critics, which I think is not cool and not what I expected to do. But I also believe that some of them are behaving badly, that they're not really acting in good faith, or they're using their prejudices to kind of overwhelm what the story, the review, the conversation is about. And if they're doing that, that's a problem. And you're basically, the service you're providing is to be a film critic, to say, hey, do you want to not spend 2 hours on this film? Well, I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't spend 2 hours on this film. And that's important. So that's their job. And even though I'm right of center, I can't look at a liberal film that's good and say, oh, don't you dare see that, because that might change your mind about this thinking that I had. So, I think too many critics these days are doing that. They're being aggressively just like propagandists. It's not right. And I don't think it's cool to call out critics, but I think when they do that, then you shouldn't. Heck, if I'm doing that and I'm guilty of it, I want someone to call me out too.
Yeah, and something that I noticed too. A while back, I watched the HBO series The White Lotus, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed The White Lotus, and as I often do, if there's something that I like, I want to see what other people are saying about it. And I came across just so much criticism that was basically saying, I wanted him to write characters that I was comfortable seeing on screen, and it's like, well, if that's what you want, then you got to make your own stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, the characters that he did present, what do you think about them, and how did they relate to each other? Were they believable? Did they feel authentic? What were the moments that stood out? So yeah, I totally hear what you're saying on that front.
And by the way, if you're watching a movie and it's maybe set in a land where you don't live, or there's an occupation being portrayed that you don't do and have never trained for, I find that more interesting. I want to be open to other experiences and other cultures and other lands. We talk about diversity all the time, and I think diversity gets a bad rap sometimes because it's so aggressively pushed and not authentic. But when Pixar puts out new movies about a culture I've never experienced, I'm in. I'm fascinated, and I want to live through that. Well, we have only a couple minutes left. Is there anything else you want to ask about me? Because we're kind of making this a dual interview, so I don't think we're doing a X versus Y. It's kind of a back and forth. So,
yeah. Well, on the subject of critics and criticism, did you happen to see the documentary You Don't Nomi by any chance?
I don't think I did. No.
It's about what's it called? Showgirls. It's the documentary of the critical and cultural response to the movie Showgirls.
Oh, I actually ran a review of that on my site from a contributor, but I didn't see it directly. So it was interesting. It sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the person that was on your site had to say about it, but I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was really great, and in particular, how you could have a movie that is just panned, outright and just totally ridiculous, and then have basically a different pair of eyes see it and show you things about it that you didn't know before, and make it worthwhile to see it again.
Oh, I love that. And by the way, your kids are too young, but my oldest son and I love watching extraordinarily bad movies and processing them in a new way. And so it's an odd joy. And I think I like it the best when it's an authentic voice. The movie Trolls 2, and I guess The Room with what's his name, Tommy Wiseau. These are bad filmmakers who are trying to make something profound, and they both failed miserably. But the fact that they tried so enthusiastically and couldn't pull it off is so endearing to me. And I suspect maybe there's a Showgirls aspect there as well.
Yeah. And I hope that I get there one day where I could do something with so much heart. I put everything I have behind it, and then it's the equivalent of like Trolls 2. Trolls 2.
Excellent. Well, before we kind of wrap up here, I want to share where people can find you and get your work. Of course, your website is thelouperez.com. You can find his tour dates, information about his podcast, which is, of course, is a must listen. And I guess you'll keep people up to date on when your book is coming out. So check out all things Lou. I miss your work at We the Internet, but you got some other stuff happening now. And if you go to his channel, there's some funny stuff. There's little bits, there's sketches, there's a podcast as well. So lots of content you're putting out.
Thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to Virtue Bombs for sure. Congratulations on the book. I have a little idea of what went into that. And I'm very happy that you made it through and that it's out there in the world.
And I think the most arduous part is the promotion cycle. So you'll be enjoying that in a few months, I'm sure.
Right on.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Lou. One of the best voices in comedy out there. Check him out wherever you find him, on a stage, on the internet, on YouTube. And we will do this again, and probably when your book comes out.
Thank you so much for listening. And again, please order my book, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore, on the death and rebirth of comedy. Just follow the link in the description or head over to Amazon and search for Lou Perez, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. And please subscribe to my podcast. Leave a 5-star review. Why not? Sign up for my newsletter at thelouperez.com. And if you want other ways to support my work, you can join thelouperez.locals.com. And of course, be sure to support my sponsors, PalomaVerdeCBD.com. Use promo code LOU for 25% off purchases over $75, and Black Organic Cold Brew, BLVCKBREW.com. Use promo code LOU for free shipping. Thank you.